Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. On behalf of agricultureinformation.com, I'd like to invite the speaker, Dr. Chandrakiran Sant, who will talk about challenges and opportunities in Indian dairy sector. I now request the speaker to begin. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Dr. Chandrakiran Sant. I am from Pune, India. Today, I'll be speaking upon opportunities and challenges in the Indian dairy sector. I think you may think that this is a subject which is little elementary. But the very fact that I chose this subject was due to the fact that I am seeing many startups, many companies from India as well as abroad trying to come into this sector, but with a very little knowledge about the basic domain. So that is why, for benefit of these companies and for these new entrepreneurs who want to come into this sector, I have chosen this topic today. Of course, let me be very frank to share with you that this is the information I have compiled working pan-India for last 35 years. I have been working in the industry from 1990, and I have covered almost every state of India to begin with. Now let us start with what is the statistics of India. We are, as we know and you know, everybody knows, India is number one in milk production, targeting a production of 300 million metric tons by 2030. Most of the farms, most of the world famous brands are already in India, and majority of them, whoever is remaining, wants to come down to India. We have got ample milk processing factories all across India for for processing of milk. And National Dairy Development Board is a major player with all-round support from the cooperatives all across the country. And that is one of the biggest sources which owns the brand Amul. Now this Amul is the taste of India, which is globally available. You will be happy to know, I am also equally happy to know that it has got a turn of 1 trillion rupees, which is really very good for a cooperative. Now we also have multinational brands like Striber Dynamics, Nestle, GSK, Heinz, Cadbury, Danone, Livers, Abbott are in the fray. Now, expansion of Milky Mist. Mind you, today I am sitting in Singapore, but I have seen this brand in majority of the malls and places where it is being sold. And that's an Indian brand. That's really expansion of Milky Mist seems to be good for me. And Lactalis Workshops is a French brand, is encouraging the business parameters throughout India. Lastly, what you can see is the FDI is also visible in this segment. Like from Lactalis, you can have the FDI from the French side. Now, if you look at India statistics to continue, milk is the oldest business in India. If you see any photo of an old deity, a Hindu god, India is a country which majority Hindus live. So if you see any photo of Lord Krishna or anybody for that matter, even Lord Dattatreya, you will always see a cow or a calf accompanying them, which means that this business has been in India from times immemorial. Well, and everybody knows India is the largest milk producer. I think it is covering more than 25% of the milk output of the world. The milk production last year was 247 million metric tons. And year-to-year growth is 3 to 4%. Of course, this we observed way back in 2010. In fact, we had a paper called India's first white paper on the dairy industry, Vision 2020, which we did after a study of 2 years, mainly in 2009, 10, and we published it in 11, wherein we found out that year-to-year growth was 3 to 4%, whereas the consumption was increasing by more than 6%, 6 to 7%. Of course, this you can easily make out why it is like that, because the population of India is increasing very much. But to be very precise and to be very realistic, the processing covers only about 40% of the total milk, because Indians are basically people who like to have fresh milk. So processing covers only about 40% of the milk. Now, If we look at the opportunity existing in India for milk business or the dairy business for that matter, we can see variety of things. You can see for yourself here what I am being trying to discuss with you. For example, first we see is value-added products, cheese, yogurt, ghee, and more. We can have variety of cheese, variety of yogurt, ghee, and many other milk products which could be sold. Then we can have a scope opportunity in the cold chain and logistics by improving the storage facilities, improving the transport facilities, having refrigerated vans and all that. Thirdly, automation. Automation in India is very less. So we can opt for more of automation and technology in maintaining the cows, in breeding the cow, in a various variety of things and resort for smart farming. Then if you look at cattle health and genetics, again, here breeding is the main fundamental, because breeding, we would like to improve the genetic potential of the animal which is existing in India. The breeding potential is low, so we have to improve it. And when it comes to health, we can always target preventive health management, because this is a phenomena by virtue of which you can get more production as well as reproduction and improve the revenue model of the farmer. Then export opportunities. We can always tap the global market for a variety of things. Mind you, as of today, the export market from India is very less. The exports which are being done by India or Indian companies does not even cover 1% of the today's total market. So there is a lot of opportunity. We can go in for export opportunities, global market. We can also have a scope in having sustainable practices, having eco-friendly solutions, which are very viable and workable in the society. Then scope is there in organic and native milk as well as natural milk. Then the processing facilities can be more automated. They can have better infrastructure is also possible. And lastly, we can have direct to consumer products, validated products for that matter, and branding could be done similarly. Now, after looking at so many things, let us try to find out what are the things which are hampering them. Or let us try it, okay, let me rephrase that. Let us talk on why the opportunity is on the rise in the Indian sector. Now, first of all, there's a lot of demand for milk and milk products. As you know, and you are aware, if you look at the world prices of the milk in the world, the Indian price of milk is very low. And this is the best food ingredients which can be offered to kids or everybody, which has got every essential ingredient, namely protein, fat, solid not fats, vitamins, and minerals. Then, of course, there's a growing demand for healthy and chemical-free as well as organic milk. The purchasing power of customer has increased. If you look at the last 10 years of India, you can see that India is growing very rapidly, and the customers' purchasing power has increased tremendously. So what is happening is the large dairy cooperatives are feeling the need that they should invest more into the backward integration, by virtue of which they'll be able to collect more milk. So at the same time, what is happening is these large corporates are also looking for developing big farms. Because if they have a big farms, what will happen is they will automatically have their own captive consumption of milk in terms of quality as well as quantity. Then, of course, there's more awareness of benefits of cow milk vis-a-vis the buffalo milk. Because as you know, the buffalo milk is having a higher fat percentage, almost double that of cow. But having low fat milk is always better. This awareness has been increasing day by day. And of course, about the Panchagavya, due to the Ayurvedic systems being followed in India. Then, of course, we also have large opportunity in carbon credits by reducing the methane percentage, and we have development of conventional environment friendly sources of energy. Means what? That means conversion of conversion of cow dung into either biogas or power generation for efficient use by the farmers. Now, like I said, now I would come to that. What are the challenges in the Indian dairy sector? What are the realistic challenges? What are not being shown in WWW, frankly, for that matter? Now, the majority of challenges are in the dairy farming sector. Now, how they are in the dairy farming sector, let us try to understand this. Because we have got, first of all, 80% of the farmers in India are landless farmers having only 3 to 5 animals. Now, what is happening is they have got a breed which is having less genetic potential. It's a below average breed. Of course, the feed and management practices are very old and being followed for generations together. I have been involved with this market from 1990. I am seeing whatever is happening is they have been still been following the age-old practices, what has been followed by their forefathers, forefathers, etc. What was happening before was the farmer was not aware of the scientific methods because nobody told him and he was illiterate. Now today what is being seen is the farmer which is coming to the field is more literate because of all this www, Gemini, ChatGPT, Meta and all that. But again, the basics seems to be missing. Secondly, since the farm size is less, automation and mechanization is difficult because first of all, the number of animals are less. Secondly, the yield is low. And thirdly, the resources, means the resources required for putting this automation into action will not give the proper ROI for this. So this is one of the major challenges. Then, like I said, since they have 3 to 5 animals, a farmer may be owning a mobile, but does not necessarily use a computer for record keeping or anything for that matter. So what has happened is application of computer-based technology is a luxury because of the price, the language, and the maintenance. Like I'll give you a simple example, maintenance. What is happening is most of the companies which are with IT and all that, they have tried to develop softwares for record keeping of animals for farmers. But like in other sectors, they still believe that we will be taking money from the farmer every month. Whereas the farmer, in lieu of that, is saying that we don't need to change anything. Our business of dairy farming does not need any upgradation. Like upgradation from Android 15 to Android 16 is not needed in dairy farming. So what we would like to have is a one-time cost for every solution of yours, which unfortunately the companies know. They do acknowledge, but they don't follow it. And they have been only asking the farmers to do that, and they are frankly failing in letting the farmer use their softwares. Like I said, again, the dairy farming is still with the marginal farmers with average herd size of 3 to 5. Now, let us come to what are the realistic challenges in the dairy sector. Like I said, I'll say it again, there is no single point information on Indian dairy farming. Mind you, I'm not joking. You can always go to www, hit Indian dairy farming. I'm sure you will not get more than 100 pages on that. Not more than 100 pages. You may get many videos on YouTube and all that blah blah, but not on www because but the farmers don't use the computer. So what is happening is the farmers not using the computer, they don't feel anything there. So what can be compiled? And www does not help. I can give you a very simple example. Last 2 weeks ago, one gentleman came to me. He wanted to start a dairy farm of 100 animals. So I was just looking at his commerce, the capex. Then I saw that he had mentioned that each cow is costing 60,000 rupees. So for 100 cows, he has earmarked 60 lakh rupees. I was surprised. I said, how did you get this information? That a cow is costing 60,000. He said, sir, I have looked into Meta and all that blah, blah, blah. And this is the information I got. I said, are you aware of the fact that today, if you want to buy a cow which is having 15 to 20 liters of milk, you will not get it below 1 lakh, 100,000. That means his whole calculation is wrong by more than 40 lakhs. So you can imagine what will happen afterwards. So this is a realistic challenge in the Indian dairy sector. So WWT does not help at all. So if you are looking into coming into Indian dairy sector or trying to do something with the farmers, please don't look into WWW. It does not help at all. I can show you innumerable examples how this has happened, what has happened, where it has happened. Anyway, the job also requires a different mindset. Now, mind you, if a farmer is having only 3 to 5 animals, it is very likely that he may not keep a labor on his farm. Now, whether there is a function in the house, where there is a marriage in the house, or where there is a death in the family, the cows has to be milked every day. So what happens is you have to milk the cow daily, whether you like it or not. So this involves a different mindset that you have to be busy or you have to have people who will be working 24/7 on this job. Then the production area of milk, like I said, 80% of the farmers are having 3 to 5 animals. They're extremely scattered all across India. So it's not like that you like shop, you'll see one farm next to another. No, at least as it is, the big farms are not there in India. So the farmer, the reach to the farmer is very, very, what do you say, difficult. Then extension education programs by cooperative leave a lot to be desired. Now let me explain to you what do you mean by extension education programs. Extension education programs are basically supposed to be designed for benefit of the farmers. These are the ways by virtue of which a farmer has to be explained what is the scientific method of managing a cow. What are the requirements for water? What are the requirements for rumination? What are the requirements for deworming? This, that, and all that. This is supposed to be done by a veterinarian or a para-veterinarian. I don't know what to say. It is fortunate or unfortunate. Most of the vets and the para-vets, they are inclined more towards treatment. Not that they do a bad treatment, but they are more inclined towards giving treatment to the animal rather than keeping the animal healthy. This is a basic fact. And this work is supposed to be done by extension education people. So now what has happened is because these people do not take interest and the cooperatives wanted to have education programs, so they have appointed persons who are not from the field, basically agriculture. Now, sad to say, the agricultural people are not aware of the basic physiology of the animal, nor the biochemistry of the animal. So what is happening? Whatever they are being taught, in bracket theoretically, they are trying to give it to the farmer. It could be having a theoretical knowledge or highly technical knowledge, which they have just acquired from some people. And it doesn't help at all. The farmer it doesn't help the farmer because these programs are directed towards maintaining the animal healthy and seeing to it that it does not go in for treatment. So these programs leave a lot to be desired. Mind you, I'm not joking. I have worked almost in every state of India, and the situation is very, very no comments. Anyway, again, the religious sentiments also come in. A cow calves, it can have a male calf also, because 50% of the calvings you see, they're having either female cows or male calves. So what do we do with the male calves? We cannot do anything because of religious taboos. In India, more than 85% of the states, cow slaughter is banned. So we don't know what has to be done with the male cows, and that becomes a hindrance for the growth of the farmer. Now, what is the scope in the dairy sector if you look at it? So, if at all any person or any company or any foreign company, whatever you can call it, can provide any technology or any service or any parameters it can look into, which will be beneficial in increase in the milk production. See, because a farmer as per se believes only one thing, improving the milk production. Mind you, it is quantity wise, not quality wise. The first thought a farmer has is improving the quantity of milk he gets because he believes that if the milk quantity is increased, automatically he get more money. Now, for that, what is important is we have to employ different parameters for this. different resources have to be used. And the first and most basic is feeding. Mind you, in a dairy farm, feeding costs about 85% of the total cost, whereas treatment is hardly 2%. I can safely say that if in any farm the treatment expenses exceed 2%, the farm is in loss. And that 85% is very crucial for observing the output from the animal. It's like how you have a computer. What do we say? Is garbage in and garbage out. Whatever you feed in will come out. In case of animals, so it is the same thing. Whatever you feed will come out by way of milk. So if there is a deficiency in the feeding, you will see that in the quantity of milk or the quality of milk. Either way, balance feeding. What is balance feeding now? I will give you a very simple example where you understand what exactly I mean by balance feeding. Today in India, in most of the urban centers, if you see, what you will see is Vitali, close that door, please. What is important is feeding, balance feeding. The youth today has got, more than 50% of the farmers, more than 50% of youth, you see, are on the fat or the obese size. Why? Why this has happened? Because they are eating, they are feeding correctly, but they are not feeding what their body requires. They are feeding what their tongue likes. By virtue of it, what do you see? That any change in the climate or a temperature or anything for that matter, they fall sick. They tend to attract diseases. So what is important? The balance feeding is important, not feeding. People feel that only feeding is important. No, it is balance feeding what is more important. Like what do you mean by balance feeding is a combination of green grass, dry grass, concentration, mineral mixture. Now again, if you ask the people or the farmers why mineral mixture has to be, he may not be able to answer. So this is basically for a company or for an individual, for any service provider, to make them understand the difficulties he is facing because of not feeding balance feeding. Then breeding. Breeding has to be improved. That means we have to have improvement in the genetic potential of the animal. So this could be done by having sex semen, by having embryo transfer technology, whatever. So again, but it has to be explained. And then we have to also look into the farmer side of this, because vis-a-vis everything you will calculate vis-a-vis the cost, what is incurring for the same. Then the management. What are the different scientific ways to manage and maintain the cows? See, when you say management, scientific management, I'm not joking. Even today also the people don't know why they have to feed, why they have to give water to the animal many times a day. They still you will see many farms in India where they give water only twice a day to the animals. I asked them just a logical question. I said, if your weight is hardly 80 kilos, why are you having water 10 times a day? Then if you have an animal which is weighing 500 kilos, how many times will it require water? And what is the requirement of water? He doesn't understand that. This has basically to be explained so that he can evaluate what is happening. And then lastly, manage calf rearing. Now here, I think I have missed one word. I should have said manage female calf rearing. Because what is happening is, because of the laws, we cannot cull the male calf. So we have to pay more attention to the female calf, the growth of the female calf. It has to attain the maturity early. That means what? It has to gain a weight of at least 250 kilos so that it can be ready for insemination. So the scope in Indian dairy sector can be what? Companies focus on farmers' need through their equipment or services. Now the big milking house processing houses should be able to encourage the farmers to opt for big farms. This can be simply done by having farms of their own, which can become a demonstration center for farmers, by virtue of which the farmer may be motivated and will be motivated definitely for having a better herd size. Maybe from 3 to 5, he can go to 10 to 20, or maybe 20 to 30 animals, whatever. But unless he knows what are the plus and the minus points of having a farm scientifically, he will not be able to do so. So that has to be done. And at the same time, they have to show to the farmer how to improve the quality of milk. Because quality of milk, mind you, I am not joking, like I said previously also, the exports of milk from India are very less. Why they are less? Because of occurrence of high somatic cell count. Now, why this somatic cell count comes? Because of one particular disease called mastitis. Mind you, I feel sad to say, mastitis was hardly 5% 5 years ago. Today it has grown to more than 25% all across India. If you have one mastitis animal in animal farm, you have to use high level of antibiotics. And because of this animal having mastitis, it will have at least 3 to 4 animals which are having subclinical mastitis. That means the mastitis is just beginning. So what happens is there is a high somatic cell count in the milk, by virtue of which the validated products lose their quality. So if the big farmers are able to demonstrate to the farmers that they can prevent this by having a better resource management or better ingredient management or better feeding management, it will be better. So what will happen is automatically it will have nil AMR. Antimicrobial resistance is a big factor for today. We talk of One Health and all that. So AMR is growing because of indiscriminate use of antibiotics due to prevalence of mastitis. There are other few challenges also in India. We have to also take into consideration this. India may be blessed with 4 very good seasons, but the rainy season is hardly 2 3 months. So what happens? Year-long availability of green fodder is a problem. You may not get it. Of course, that problem is met with today being with the use of silage and all that. But again, silage has got other problems, inherent problems, default problems like aflatoxins, mycotoxins, and all that. Secondly, because of the religious taboos and the laws in India, he has to maintain unprotected in locality animals. Then again, exchange services, like I said, I'll say again, they are very poor. Then milking prices state-wise are different. That could be due to terrain. Like if you look at the northern eastern states, they are hilly areas and all that, because of virtue of which the transport costs and everything goes up and everything goes haywire. So distribution and pricing policy of milk is different for every state. Then the common services which are required by a farmer for maybe for milking, means giving the milk, for artificial insemination, for making silage, for having hydroponics, making biogas, clean milk production and all are challenges here. And of course, the biggest challenge is preventive health and nutrition. Like I said before, I said nutrition, feeding costs 85% of the cost. If you are able to save 1% on that cost, you can save a lot of money. And by virtue of which the animal may not fall sick, and you will get a better productivity from the animal in terms of quantity of milk and quality of milk. I would like to say my favorite sentence, my favorite tagline: prevention is investment and treatment is expense. And lastly, India, even though so big and all that, there is not a single institute in India which gives online training to a farmer. We have many institutions, many KVKs, everything is there. But all of them give training to the farmer on computers or used by presentations and all that, blah, blah, blah. But there is not a single institute which gives online training. So to sum up everything, what I would like to say, the scope for Indian dairy sector and scope in Indian dairy sector is for any technology, service, parameter which can, again, the primary need is what? Increase the milk production. So for this, what are the things which are essential? The things which are essential for improving milk yield is, like I said, feeding, balanced feeding. Secondly, breeding. In breeding also, there's one more factor which comes into India, is there are a lot of infertility cases. If I am not mistaken, the infertility cases in India range from 20 to 25%. If I am not mistaken, Please pardon me if I've said something wrong, but if what I am looking at is, it is like that only. It is up to that level. And this is mainly due to improper feeding. Thirdly, again, extension services, they have to be improved. So scientific ways and means to manage the farms. And lastly, the calf management. Means managing the female calf, the growth of female calves and all that. So if you sum it up, the whole thing, that the scope for India, for the Indian dairy sector, is very high. But of course, it has to be done with a pinpoint precision of following everything meticulously. And for that, the biggest thing, the biggest challenge, what I see is capacity building. The capacity building has to be done. Even if you remember, a few years ago, there have been many state governments which have been giving free animals to farmers. But they never trained the farmers how to raise them. And most of the states have lost a lot of money. So if you look at Indian dairy farming, the scope for Indian dairy sector is huge. We have to take it. So, like I said, companies focusing on farmers' need through their equipment services will definitely have an upper hand. Then big processing houses can have their own farms, have their own turning centers and all that. And improving the quality of milk will definitely improve the status of Indian milk in the world scenario also. So again, that will definitely help in having nil residual effect of pesticides as well as antibiotics. So the main target will be focusing, preventing health and management. I think I have tried to make most of the points very clear and very simple. I hope you have understood them. If there are any queries, please feel free to ask me. Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity. Thanks a lot. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, sir, for a detailed presentation as always. So
Yeah,
now I'll take up some questions.
sure.
So the first question is, um, just a second. Okay. What are the major challenges currently faced by small and medium dairy farmers in India?
Like I said, I would say it again, the farmers are very much scattered throughout India.
Hello?
Yeah. Can you hear me? Hello? Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah. Now, like I said, I would like to say it again. What has happened
Hello?
is, hello,
Yes, I am able to
one
hear
minute,
you.
1 minute. I'll just check what has happened.
Yes, I am able to hear you, sir.
You're able to hear me? Okay. Now, the major thing what I would like to say again is, since the farmers are scattered, it is very difficult to reach each and every farmer. And what is happening, the most of the companies are targeted towards selling their products rather than, explain to the farmers why they are needed. So what happens is farmer is not getting the correct information and there is a lot of problems. So that is a major challenge. The education of farmer is very less. Like I said, I emphasized more on the extension service model of the farm, the cooperatives. If that is improved, definitely we'll see a better improvement in the farmers' outcome. Okay. Hello. Hello.
Okay, yes, sir. I
Yeah.
can hear you
Did you
now.
get that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, I
Okay.
got it. I got it. Okay.
Yeah.
So
Any
the
other
next question
question?
is, how can farmers improve? Yeah. How can farmers improve profitability despite rising feed and input costs?
See, for that, there are very simple methods. For example, if 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 they are giving water twice a day to the animal, if they give water thrice a day, still they will get 5% more milk. And to be very frank, water doesn't cost. So, a simple techniques there. This is what I have been always telling to the farmers. What are the simple ways of improving the productivity? Because what is happening, like I said, the companies are not interested in educating the farmers, but they're interested in selling the products. But what is important is the extension education. And if he knows what is the exact management practices, for example, I'll give another example. Till today, the farmer is of the opinion that if I feed more, I'll get more milk. Now, the thing is that in case of human beings, I give them a simple example that if you go to a marriage, what happens is you eat more and you don't work. After that, you feel sleepy and you go to sleep. I said, in case of animal, the digestion is done by way of rumination. And rumination is only possible if the manger, the place where the feed is being kept, is kept empty. Now, what is happening is I have asked this question throughout India. The biggest answer I have got was 6 hours. Mind you, scientifically, if you have to keep the animal ruminating for at least 8 hours in a day, that means what has happened? They are giving more feed and getting less milk. So, if these simple things are done, of course, these things cannot be just told like that. They have to be demonstrated amply and exactly evaluated at the farmer's level. So they understand the thing and it can be done. So there are various ways like that. Usually I take a lecture for the farmers called as how to improve productivity of milk without increasing the cost. And I cover only hardly 6 or 7 points. So in that, by at the end of the time, he gets what is to be done. And that, if it is done all across, definitely the farmer will improve. His milk productivity will improve and his revenues will increase.
Okay. And what opportunities exist in value addition like paneer, ghee, flavored milk for dairy farmers?
No, actually, I would not suggest for the farmers to go in for this kind of products. Because what happens, see, milk is a commodity which is taken every day by farmer, by everybody. But whereas a milk product is not taken every day by the people. A consumer will, take Srikhand or paneer once a week or once in 10 days or on a religious day or where he has a function. And secondly, when any consumer is buying a product like this, a valued product, he always look for a brand, which is difficult for a farmer to make. Because first of all, he is producing less amount of milk. Then how branding will take place? And since he's having less milk, his production cost will be high. So what will be important is rather than trying to sell product which are out of milk, it is better to sell a product milk directly. Because to be very frank, in India, whether you outsource anything or everything from the market, your price of milk will not exceed 35 rupees per liter of milk. And you can easily sell this milk for 50 rupees. But this may not happen in case of value-added product. And for that, a farmer need not go for that. He can only go in for milk because milk selling is a very easy process. He can just give milk to somebody. He will what the person will do. He'll give it to his wife. She will boil it. She will see how much cream is coming, what is the taste of tea and all that. And if she likes it, she will buy it. In that case, the consumer doesn't look into a brand, but he looks into quality of milk. So for a farmer, it will be easier to sell milk rather than sell a milk product.
Okay. And how can better breed management and genetics improve milk productivity?
See, what is happening today is the Indian breeds like the Gir, Tharparkar, Devani and all those breeds, they had a very low milk potential. So what is important is you have to upgrade the milk potential of the animal. Now, say for example, if you are having a cow giving 15 to 20 liters, you can also do an artificial insemination with semen of a bull whose mother has produced 25 to 30 liters of milk. So what will happen, when it combines with the animal giving 15 to 20 liters, you are doing it with 25, 30 liters, the progeny what you will get, the next generation you will get will definitely give 25 liters of milk. So what has happened is automatically you have improved the genetic potential of the animal. This can keep on going all the time. This would be possible. And I would always suggest to a farmer that you start with a low animal giving low milk and then gradually improve it, so that what happens, you are used to what are the different management practices to be taken into consideration when you are maintaining these cows. I should not go for directly for high milking cows. It's like, driving a car. You can use when you start driving a car, you cannot go directly to 100. It takes you about 3 to 4 years to go to a speed of 100. So you start with low, you go on a low this thing, and then you improve. That's how it goes.
Okay. And how can farmers manage milk price fluctuations and market risk?
No, they cannot manage that, frankly, because it depends on, to be very frank, you and know, and I also know, it depends on the different state policies, of course. But one thing is good in case of dairy farming is, come what may, at least they don't have to go through a broker. The price for milk is always fixed. The price for milk is based upon fat and SNF, and that is fixed. So if the farmer improves the quality of milk, automatically get a better price. See, in case of agriculture, what happens, whatever yield he has got, he has to go through a broker. And the price cannot be a price determined by that broker. In case of dairy, the advantage is that the price is determined before only. So what the farmer has to ensure that he should not go into more losses. He should pay attention to better management of his animals, by virtue of which he will get a better productivity. So in this case, I would say a dairy farmer is much more luckier than an agriculture farmer.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what are the best practices for animal health and disease prevention?
See, the best practices is, see what is the government has already offered lot of vaccinations free of cost to the farmers. They should be easily taken. And there are only two things I would suggest to the farmer, that he has to do. The major thing is deworming. See, what is important is any person or any animal for that matter is living, has got worms in his body. And these worms always, they eat digested food, not undigested food. By virtue of which the quantity of milk goes down. I have been lecturing the farmers on this issue very often, saying that if you have got the worm load in the animal is too much, they will eat almost 40% of the food, digested food. For example, if an animal has eaten 10 kilos, then 6 kilos will be digested and 4 kilos will go as gobar, powder. Now this 6 kilo is translated into milk. Now, if the animal, if there is a worms in the body and they have eaten more than 40% from this 6 kilos, automatically what will happen? The milk yield will decrease, and this animal will be becoming weak day by day. So, one very important thing is he has to use deworming every 3 months. That too, he has to deworming all the animals at the same time. Previously, what used to happen was a farmer was deworming only the cows which are giving milk, but that is not the case. This should not happen, because the animals which have not been given the medicine can again transfer these worms to them. So, deworming is a must every 3 months. And there is another important factor called mineral mixture which has to be used daily, which will balance the feed. So, these two things, if he follows correctly, use of deworming every 3 months and use of a mineral mixture every day, I am sure his animals will never fall sick, and he will improve the productivity to much greater extents. And in case of mineral mixture, I can only say one thing: the mineral mixture should contain two ingredients which are very much vital to the animals for improving their immunity, that is vitamin E and selenium. In case if you are writing, you can please write it down that vitamin A should be at least 250 IU and selenium inclusion in the mineral mixture in 1 kilo should be at least 100 mg. If these two products are used correctly in the mineral mixture, let me assure you, all the other ingredients will be correct. Because these two are the most expensive ingredients in the mineral mixture, which many companies try to avoid so that they can reduce the cost. But then, if the other mineral mixtures are used, the immunity of the animals will never be developed. So he has to understand these two things. First, a deworming every 3 months. Second, use of a proper mineral mixture containing vitamin E and selenium to these levels.
Okay.
Yeah.
And um, how can FPOs and cooperatives strengthen milk collection and marketing systems?
See, this is actually a question beyond my purview. But if the FPOs want to do that, they have to pay more attention to the extension services, because once the farmer is aware that you are giving services which are helping him to improve the productivity and of his animals, he will definitely be giving you milk. See, FPOs are concerned with collection of more milk. That is only possible if they give proper services to the farmers. And one of the simplest way of giving a proper service is that advising the farmer on how to reduce the cost of his milk production. If he does that, definitely be more happy, because he'll get more milk, he'll get more money, and they feel also benefited by having more milk collection. So that would be the most ideal method actually.
Okay. And
Yeah.
what government schemes or policies support dairy sector growth in India?
No, I don't know. Because actually, to be very frank, most of the government these things are, you can know them at your level, because every state has got different schemes. I am not aware of most of the schemes, frankly. I am aware of asking a farmer how to improve his productivity rather than going for what the schemes available. It has to
Okay,
be,
right.
understood from the animal husbandry department of every state, because they are aware of all these schemes and all that. I am not particularly aware, not I am keeping a record of anything of that sort.
Okay.
My expertise
What
lies
few
in improving the animal productivity. That's all. Yeah, you're saying something, ma'am.
Okay. What future trends and innovations will shape the Indian dairy industry?
See, innovations are many, but how far the innovations are useful has to be seen, frankly. There are many, like now, for example, we have got sex semen. Now, sex semen technology is useful, but the first and the foremost thing is expensive. Secondly, the conception percentage is more. Means, sorry, it's very less. That today, if I am not wrong, it is less than 21%. That means if an animal has to be given sex semen, it has to be inserted 5 times. So the cost of semen is very high. Again, 5 times insemination means the animal has already lost 100 days of productivity. So this, okay. Secondly, we have got some, collars and all that which are coming, which regulate the movement of the animal. Now I asked the gentleman, I said, if there is a snake in the farm and if the animal runs, what indication will that collar give? They have no answer. So what is important? I'm not saying anything wrong with the innovations, but the innovations are useful and have it been found. Like for sex semen, I always ask the people who are supplying sex semen that can you show me F3 generation? Okay, you inseminated one cow with, that is F1 generation. Now F2 generation, the female which is produced, has it produced the female calf again? Is what I would like to see. Unfortunately, they don't want to show that. Now they are talking on that. They are only talking that, okay, if we have this, then we'll get a female calf. So innovations are plenty, but I don't know how far useful they are. Like, very frankly, I'll tell you one biggest fallacy. Everybody, many startups have come out with variety of innovations in recording this and that. But can you believe it for a fact there is not a single software in India, mind you what I'm saying, in India, which can give you a profit and loss account. Can you believe that? We are producing 247 million metric tons, and there is not a single company or not a single entity in the whole of India who has given any inclination to devise this software. So I don't know about the innovations. And mind you, let me be very frank, I devised this software in 2002. And on that, I started my work. How you can take out the profit and loss account dairy farm, and what are the indications to be done if you are seeing a loss in the farm. So I'm really surprised, I don't know what sort of innovations are coming. I'm seeing all of them, but again, they have to be seen to be believed, no? Because they should give the ROI also, everything should be there. So I don't know what I can say about the innovations.
Okay.
Please correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah. Okay. Um, okay, sir. So I don't see any more questions. Yeah. I don't see any more questions.
I can
So
only say one thing. I can only say
yeah.
one. If anybody has a question, please ask him to call me, because I would like to explain in detail what is what. Because see what is happening, I get a lot of questions on WhatsApp and all that. But what happens is a person writes with his own knowledge, I reply with my knowledge, and it usually doesn't match. So if the person calls me, I can explain to him, I can understand, and then everything can be done. And mind you, I'm not joking. My phone is on 24 hours a day. I work 24 hours a day. So I don't mind
Okay.
if people call me on to ask me any questions.
Okay. Okay. Okay, sir. So now we have come to end of question round. On behalf of agricultureinformation.com, we'd like to thank you for the presentation, answering all the questions in depth. So we'll be ending this meeting now. Have a good evening, sir.
Thank you. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
Good night.
Thank you. Bye-bye.